It was mentioned in the prerequisites to this course that you should have a Google or an Apple or Facebook sign-on that you can use. Microsoft and Yahoo also work. Today is one of those days that I'm going to show you how we use that. So in this case, I'm going to create a sign-in with Google. And I'm going to use our CocoSAR Hasty Squad sign-on. Now this PC has remembered the password for hastysquad@gmail.com. It's in the documentation. I'm not going to put it out here on the web where others might find it, but if you ask me, I can also tell you what the password is. You also notice that when we first start up, we have an unsaved map. The X here means I can delete any map. I can delete the current map. Now, the current map, there is nothing on it. We have not created any objects or features, and we have not saved anything. So deleting the current map right now would not do anything or mean anything, but I will show you what it does in just a moment, because it'll also make a difference when we learn to save the map. So we're going to go over the menu system today. We've gone over the help menu already, and we've gone over adding some of the features and described what the features are. The add new layers we will talk about at a different time. So right now, following along, I'm going to do an import. In this case, we can import via Garmin GPS. Now, GPS.io is an additional software module that has to be installed on each PC in order to use it, and we use it to connect to the Garmin 60 CSX GPSs. Other than that, on any of the newer models, such as the 62 or the 64, or anything newer than that, when you plug in the USB socket, it automatically shows up as a disk drive on your PC. So I can import directly from the GPX. We're going to cover that later. So right now I'm just going to pull in a file off of this computer. And I'm going to go to downloads, and I'm going to use export1.gpx. And now the import data comes back and it shows me here's the items. Now I can bring in by clicking, I can click just one or both, or I can click these that'll bring all of them. I can see that they're on the map, and I can currently see the latitude, longitude that they're located. Now, more often we'll be using UTMs, and when I talk about configuring the system, I'll show you that, how we get that. So I'm going to import those two objects. And here they've showed up. And we are seeing the incident command post and the place last seen for our subject. Now again, as I mentioned, and we see that these two markers are now showing up over here in our markers directory, our markers folder. Now if you may remember, back at the intro, I said that the objects themselves are not attached to the map. We can use any base map that we may want to use, and those markers don't change places. They are independent from the base map, and they just exist in their own light. So I'm going to use a Google map for right now. Okay, you notice at the same time, once we imported and once we actually had an object on the screen, we now have saved this map pop up. Until you save the map the first time, it does not get saved. once you save a map the first time, from that point on, the map will autosave, I think normally around every 10 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and save this map, and we'll talk about what that means. Saving the map, we give it a name. And I'm going to call this Demo. I'm going to save it to our account. It's viewable with the URL. I can make it private or publicly viewable. I do not know what publicly viewable means. I have no idea how anybody would find the map, but we always use the viewable with URL, and at the same time, on our maps, we give it a password that allows us to share the map. This means that anybody who else logs in and has the 4-letter code, I'll show that to you momentarily, or they know the name to the map, they can actually update the map as well. So I'm going to save the map. And this 4 characters up here is now the key in the database to where our map items live. So if we give that 6 Victor Tango 1 to any other user anywhere, they don't have to be with us. They could be, in a different state for that matter. But if we give them that code, they can type in this URL, sartopo.com/m/6 Victor Tango 1, and they would pull up our map. And because they know the password, they would be able to actually edit it, add new items, delete items, change items. So this is one way, for example, that somebody in Martinez, Dick Danger, for example, would be able to start creating assignments for a type 1 search that's happening up in Mendocino County. Okay, so again, we go back, we've saved the map now. We've seen our 2 markers that we've put in, and I'm going to change them for right now so that they become the standard markers that we want to use for these items. So PLS, and that's another way we can edit. Style, and I'm going to go our standard ICS marker, our standard ICP marker. Okay, so we've now we've imported these 2 objects onto the map. And just for sake, I'm now going to right-click. I'm going to create a new line, and I'm just going to do some drawing here. And again, we'll cover lines later on. So I've added a new line to it. I'm going to say, just for sake of nothing else, that we found a clue right here. And this was a 49ers hat. Whoops. A 49ers hat. And let's say OK. Oh. Because I didn't right-click, again, it put that clue in the middle of the screen. So I'm going to drag it to a new location instead and put it back where I want it. There we go. Okay, so I've imported, I've created a couple of items, and now I want to be able to export this map. So I can download a GPX file. A GPX will create waypoints, and it will create tracks, but it does not remember things such as my icons. Okay, the icon type, the X here, or the ICP icon. It doesn't remember that a clue would look like a question mark. But instead, but I can do that, and of course I can then pull that GPX. Let's say I've created assignments here, a line assignment, that I want somebody to look along this path on Tarantino Road to look for any clues. I can download that to the person's GPS by creating it as a GPX file. So I could download that. However, if I want to export it and import it back into a SAR-topo map or save it, it works a lot better to export as a GeoJSON file. So the GeoJSON says, okay, here's my items. I have an unnamed shape, which is my line. I have a clue, and I have the two markers. They're all on the map, and I'm going to export them. Okay, it's going to be called demo. It takes the name of my map. When I named it up here, I named it demo, and it's going to save it. And it's going to save it in the downloads file. And in Firefox, which is the browser I'm using, you actually get this little arrow up here in the line underneath, and then I can see my demo JSON. Okay, so what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to delete this file, or at least clear the screen. It still exists out in my account. So if I go out to Hasty Squad, I can find demo right here, and I can pull it back in, and here's my objects again. But I'm going to clear the screen again, and I'm going to import. I'm going to go back to import. I'm going to say browse, and I can find the demo JSON file that I've saved out in my downloads, and I can pull it back in. It tells me that these are all on the map, and again, I can get back my items along with the correct logos, icons, and everything else. Okay, so that's import and export. Under export, I can create a KML file of these same objects, and that KML file can be pulled into Google Earth. And when you pull it into Google Earth allows a couple of cool things in the fact that you can actually create and see 3D maps that you can sort of fly around. So it's a handy tool, but it has to be installed on any PC that you want to use it. And it's not the easiest software to use. There's very few times we probably need it for search and rescue, but if it's on a PC, it's available, and a KML file can be exported and imported into Google Earth.